Hello, Felicia Moore, your host for Realty Resources and Realities. We are here for part two of our Black History Month special of Roots and Reality 10 Black History Facts about Real Estate You Need to Know. This is part two. Thanks for joining. Hello, Felicia Moore, your host of Realty Resources and Reality. Proud to bring you this show, Roots and Reality 10 Black History Facts about real estate that you need to know. But before I get started, I want to make sure you're helping us share this information. We want to be a resource for you here at Exit Realty West Midtown. And the way that you can help us is to, number one, like this video, hit that thumbs up. It helps tremendously. We want people to know that you're liking the content. And if you haven't, please subscribe. Please subscribe to our channel because the more viewers we have that are subscribers, the more YouTube and Facebook will push this out in the algorithm so more people will get the content. And if there's something that we do that you think someone should have information on, like if someone is looking to rent, we have stories about that, how to protect your property. Look at our playlist. Share it with someone because that's what we want to do, is share with you so that you can share with others and we can all help each other. Also, I'd like to know what you'd like to know here on this show for Ask Felicia. That is my title, Ask Felicia. You can ask me anything real estate related, and if it's not, I'll try to help find someone who can help you. But you can email me at askfelicia@exitwestmidtown.com, or you can text Ask Felicia to 85377, and I'll get that, and I will respond to you as soon as I possibly can. It could be just real estate related for you personally, for another friend. People call me all the time just to ask questions, and that's what we're here for, to be a resource. And if you need any realty services, we're here to help you at Exit Realty West Midtown as well. So just wanted to share that with you. We're going to go on and get started because we don't want to run out of time. We did the top five. Not the top five, but the five, and now we're on number 6. There are so many facts that are related to real estate and Blacks in this country, but I try to pick out some that would get us to understanding how we ended up with many laws that we have that have not only been beneficial to African Americans, but other races as well. So today we're going to talk about 6 through 10, our last facts. So number 6 is in 1948. This is Shelley versus Kraemer Supreme Court case. And a lot of these cases went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court made those final decisions that made changes. In the Shelley versus Kraemer Supreme Court case, the court ruled that racially restrictive covenants, which prohibited the sale of homes to Black buyers, were unenforceable under the Constitution. Yes, not only was there segregation where there was redlining, where there were areas that said don't lend to these areas, these are black areas, or these are the only areas that blacks were able to live in, there were also covenants that said if you live in this subdivision per se, you cannot sell your home to a black person. You cannot sell it at all. We won't have black people in this area at all. There are even areas today that have not been renamed, which really someone should go and clean it up, that give very restrictive means and restrictive and very negative, racially connotative terms to those lands, to those creeks. And they're right here in Georgia. And as a real estate agent, every once in a while, if you're doing any prospecting for investors or looking at different things, you can run across some of those names. But this one, this Shelley versus Kraemer Supreme Court case, was very monumental because it said, you, white homeowner, you can sell your property to whomever you want to. So it gave them rights to sell to who they want to, but it also restricted those who were taking away blacks' rights from being able to move into areas that would not sell to white people. Now, of course, getting rid of the law is one thing, getting rid of the practice is another, but this was very instrumental. 1948, Shelley versus Kraemer Supreme Court case. So let's move up to 1968. And this is very, very monumental. It was the Fair Housing Act. It was passed shortly after Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s assassination. And this Fair Housing Act prohibited discrimination in the sale, rental, and financing of housing based on race, based on color, based on religion, based on sex, and based on national origin. So while these laws restricted black people, they also were being used to restrict others. And we talked about redlining. We talked just now about those covenants where certain covenants in certain neighborhoods or subdivisions say, hey, you can't sell to black people. But this went further. This said, and does say today in the Fair Housing Act, you are prohibited. It is against the law to discriminate on the sale, rental, financing of housing based on a person's race, based on their color, based on their religion, based on their sex, or based on their national origin. That was and is a very important law. In 1970, blockbusting tactics. So, what is that? Real estate agents used fear tactics to encourage white homeowners to sell their properties at low prices, warning them that black families were moving in the neighborhood would lower their property values. These properties were then sold to black families at inflated prices. Unfortunately, realtors and real estate agents have been involved in some of these unscrupulous practices. Again, in 1970, there were blockbusting tactics. And this is where agents would use fear tactics and tell the white man in their home, oh, those blacks are coming in the neighborhood. You better hurry up and sell this house, because if you wait around and let them move in this neighborhood, your property values are going to go down and you're not going to get what your price is worth. And so when they moved and rushed out, then they were able to allow blacks to come in, and they, even though they sold it, they sold those properties to blacks at inflated rates. So in 1980, that is when we saw one of the greatest rise in black home ownerships. Blacks began to rise, black home ownership numbers began to rise, aided by federal programs promoting equal opportunity housing. And with those fair housing laws and prohibiting against redlining and getting rid of covenants that restricted blacks, all of these things that were precursors to this helped in the 80s for there to be a rise in black home ownership. And it aided by federal programs that were specifically designed to help blacks get homes. And unfortunately, despite this, systematic inequities in lending and access to housing persisted. And even today in 2020, we are still fighting some of those inequities. They're still there. You fix it on one end, and people find another way to do it on another. And our number 10 is the president wealth gap and reparative efforts. There is a big wealth gap, and that wealth gap also has a lot to do with whether people can afford homes. This is becoming even beyond a racial issue, while it does have roots in that because of some of the things that we talked about that help to make this big wealth gap. But it's also becoming a class issue no matter what your race is. Today, you need $400,000 or more to buy a decent home. Not everyone is able to get financing to do that. Not everyone is making that kind of money so that they can afford a home. Discrimination practices have contributed to a significant wealth gap between Black and white families. In recent years, initiatives such as reparative housing programs, like in Evanston, Illinois, have aimed to address these historical injustices. And there are a lot of programs here, down payment assistance programs and other programs that the governments are trying to use to help to give restorative or reparative justice so that more African Americans, those who are on the lower end of the wealth gap or income gap, can get properties. All of these things that we talked about from part one to part two could be a show in and of itself, each and every one of these, because these facts reflect the long-standing challenges and resilience of Black Americans in the real estate sector. There's even as I talked about in part one, facts related to Blacks who wanted to even be brokers and agents to be able to sell properties to people. There are so many disparities, but I just thought that it would be good for us to take a pause and understand that many of the laws that we see on the books now have come from things that have happened to Blacks in the real estate industry, and how, unfortunately, so many Black Americans, particularly our forefathers and people who are no longer here, who have had land taken from them unjustly and have not gotten reparations for that land loss. Neither them nor their generational family has not been able to take advantage of that. So those are some of the 10. There are so many facts related to Blacks and real estate. I look forward to next year and bringing some new facts. But I want to make sure you get the resources you need right here today. So feel free to reach out to me at Ask Felicia at exitwestmidtown.com. That is my email address. You will see all of our contact information at the end of the show, or you can text Ask Felicia to 85377. If I can help you in any way, please contact me. As you know, if you've been watching this show, I am adamant about us protecting our property. I hope that you have taken advantage of the information that we've shared. If not, contact me. I'll get it to you, making sure you register your property that you have so a scammer, doesn't come and take your property. It's happening here and it's happening across the country. And I want to make sure that you protect your property. Again, I want to thank you so much for joining the show. I also ask and urge and encourage you to please share this information with your friends, like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you next month for more realty resources and reality. Take care.